n'atabikamu $1 omuntu atalina omanyi kyasinga okumenya abantu kwekubala kati nomaliza nga onsomedde nongamba nti according to $1 oba the percentage twala percentage
naye Uganda otubuddewo
percentage date eri mu 75 akati wano bw'otunula wajja agamba bwati nti sente zino zitugenda okusoma olwaleero mu mbalirira mulimu 35.3% the total national budget is earmarked for interest and debt payment. Monna Uganda tabimanyi bulungi batubanja tulina okusasula
zezimu ku nsonga
zisinga ne budget yaffe
batubanja obu trillions 7.3 yeah. Sente zize zikula
ziwera
and woba otunulidde budget tuli beyond line y'okwewola eri 52% tuli ku 53% twayambuka sente ze tugenda okufuna kiri kye mbadde nkugamba tusoma embaya ya butabalika 48 yuala ekitongole mikwano g'olujoki agenda soloza obutabalika 25. That is almost a half of the budget. Kati tugamba ezo ze zaffe
era muno bwe yagayogera yagambye nti ebitundu of the national budget ebitundu nga 65 alafu 65 10 tugenda kuba ffe tubiyekoleddeko kati n'obutundu nga 23 roza 5 kuli 10 byetugenda okwekolerako nga 23 n'obutundu nga 3 zigenda kubeera zaba basakirizi
donations. Kati kyoba manya kye kino
kitegeeza nti mwami Lujoki alina omulimu munene nnyo okusolozeza wano ziwere.
Kati kankikulage Lujoki agenda asoloza obukadde trillions 25 agenda asoloza kuba ki ku bannayuganda kati bannayuganda babadde mu covid emyaka emeka emyaka 2 kati waliwo business ezasooza omusolo nga potential taxpayers abamu bagagga abali basasuza bapangisa mu dollars wano aliyo kiraba Uganda yali efuna sente nga bakikuba kati covid yabakuba 2 years abantu bandaba covid yabakuba 2 years 60% of the businesses
amakolero nebo babo clinics ezabuli z'abantu oba nimiro covid yazikuba olw'ensonga newe banimiro omuntu yayita kyasobola kutambuza bulungi byamaguzi
era okusinziira ku Uganda Revenue Authority batulaga nti Uganda ina potential taxpayers 10 million obukadde 10 abasobola obukadde buli bubiri obusasula 2 million kati ate abantu bali 8 abali compliant
abasobola gandi
abali compliant era abakkiriza ne bajja ne basasula kati ate ku list tulinako obukadde bubiri obugamba bano bebewandiisa kati mbadde nkulaga sente ze tugamba nti ze zaffe the 25 trillions yola ezegenda osasula tusoma budget nga tetulina yadde n'ekikumi kati essuubi lyaffe ligamba liri mu URA tutunulidde Lujoki soloza sente kati Lujoki yono Munnayuganda gwagenda osolozaako agenda soloza ku Munnayuganda ali mu ggwanga nga buli kintu kyeyongedde amafuta gali ku kakaaga
talina bwatambula kola business
emmere erinye
emmere gyalya nti newegibwa kilo ya muche akasawo k'obuwunga
va ku kasawo
mwami Lujoki
pidi bw'ogula kasawo va ku kasawo kilo ya kawunga
mbalira akasawo kiziba kilo 5
akasooka
kilo nga 5 2 kali ku mitwalo 3
nti ekiro ya 13
omutwalo
gumu
olwaleero kali ku mitwalo 3 yena kakati tutuuse mu mbeera wakati mu mbeera enzibu ennyo mwami Lujoki bamugamba olina zisoloza
yadde okusoloza omusolo sigamba nti Lujoki agenda kwongeramu amaanyi kubanga budget yeno mandate buli mwaka yola yesoloza omusolo naye kati okusoloza omusolo okw'omulundi guno nze kukyendaba mwami Lujoki bamutadde mu katu nga bannayuganda bagenda kumulaba nga balaba Matiya Kasaija nti ebizibu by'emisolo gyonna babituteeka ku ki ku Kasayija kati lujo kyagenda soloza
tulina okumulaba mu mbeera yonna gye twagadde olw'ensonga nti bwe twali tuyingira covid namukulaga wano bwe twamubuuza ti osuubira covid anaatuyisa bubi natugamba we don't expect that because economy is tugenda okuyingira omwaka ogwokubiri nga ye kenyini atugamba sikyabitegeera nange economy erabika etandise
baali tebalina script of course
twagenda okumaliriza nga tuli mu mabanja nga ne baatwazika zitulemye okukozesa obulungi tugenze okumugira tugamba mwami Matiya Kasajja waliwo ebitongole byetaaga okuyambako ye ebitongole nga amasomero ebitongole ebibadde biyamba nti URA byejjamu omusolo oyinawo stimulus eyinza okubiyamba like other countries did nti ne bwe ziba kampuni za baasi oba za moto za baasi ez'ennyonyi ezaki kampuni ezo amawanga gasinga gaziwa ssente ziyambibweko zisobole okusigala mu system nga zikola
twalinako ssente zateeba mu UDB
zalemerayo n'okutuusa olwaleero
ate nga twayongeddeyo
abasomesa tebazifuna abazadde abantu bebaga nti tugenda kubayambako tebazifuna twawuleko omuntu ogwo eyafuna mugundi ogwo mu sente za UDB tebazakamwesi ati it was a shopping mall
naye yavaayo ntanga takikakasa
ninjuza bwali mukisa niye olwaleero tugenda kusomerwa embalirira eyemedde bweti bwetegereza ennyo obuse 17
17 trillions
17.383 trillions bwe buwumbi bwa siringi za Uganda omutwalo gumu ndowooza 107
awogenda tubuza tugambe trillions ebintu ajja zitegeera
nati mukulu ajja kusoma billion
tubimulekere
17.38 trillions zegenda ku interest and debt payment
tusasula mabanja
n'amagoba ku mabanja ago
actually tetugenda sasula mabanja tusasula amagoba
agali ku mabanja ago nti bwe twali tugenda mu covid bwe twayingira mu covid World Bank yatuwa milioni 5 eza dola IMF netuwa 1.9 trillions ngoni natuweereza European Union natuwa ate nga babega twali twewola dda
twewola ebbanga lya Exim Bank
so twewola dda
eyekisawe
kyennyonyi so tugenda kusasula ku mabanja ago tutooleko
nga tonavaawo awo tugende mpola omuntu like waliwo omuntu yabadde agamba nti oli bubi tolina kyakulya n'ogenda ne weewola ssente ogenda osasule ku dduuka ye bakubanja n'ogenda ne weewolayo emmere oba olina kyokoze oba
tusoma economics olunaku lwenkyange nakwetera mukyala omwe yasoma economics n'amukuguka ajja kuyitako wano ku makya era ajja kukimubuuza ekibuuzo ekyo twali tusoma economics twalinawo ze bayita zero rated companies oba netubeerawo ne vicious circle of poverty kugamba nti you keep yourself busy doing a lot of nothing
naye ate kiyinza okutaasa
obeeraawe neweefuula akola n'okola kabalagala 5 noba n'ennusu 10 n'ogula amenvu ga 5 n'obuto wa 2 n'obuwunga n'okola bukabalagala 5 n'obutunda nusu 10 n'obuzitamu n'obukola era n'obutunda nusu 10 you keep yourself busy doing a lot of nothing
sigamba nti soko lindeko PD weebe Exim Bank yampola ebbanja limaze emyaka 10
tonasasula
banatera okuntwalako ekisaawe kati ngambe ekisaawe kyange tekigenda kanewola awalala kubanga ebbanja ligenda kuba pya bagenda kumpaawo ebbanga nsasula ono omukadde oli anyongereyo ebbanga nsasula ono aleke okutwala ebintu byange kati ntawaane n'omulala
n'oli naye atuuke watuusa akutwalo bannansi b'eggwanga lya Sri Lanka batabukira juzi walaba prime minister wa Sri Lanka omwami President Gotabaya Rajapaksa ne muganda we Rajapaksa na Rajapaksa muganda we ya prime minister yali kulya ne government nga banansi bagamba mulabika mwatude eggwanga lyaffe ne muliguza China gwanga China yatuwola esenti ng'egamba nti ezeetaaga kati essaawa etuusikira kamwagala tutunda aye tuli baavu tetulina emmere tulya wakati awo kino kyetulimu olwaleero
so ekyokusasula amabanja kisobola okubeera relevant
tusasuleko
twongere okwewola
twetaase
lwakubanga obuzibu bwe tulina buli bumu walaba minisita wa finance olumu ng'agamba nti twewole ssente tetunaba kutandika zikozesa naye tusasula interest nenzija ewo neŋŋamba omwana wange mulwadde mpole ssente mutwale mu ddwaliro nentuuka ewaka noŋŋamba nti mu nnaku 2 ogenda kuzzanga buli lunaku 15,000 kati mala wiiki nga nkomyayo 15,000 ng'omwana sinamutwala mu ddwaliro kati omwana nentamutwala mu ddwaliro nentuuka akadde nga wampola mutwalo omanja emitwalo 8 naye nga n'omutwalo gwo nkyagulina neŋŋamba nkuddiza omutwalo gwo kati
ogumpola ate mumbeera bwekyo kikutambuliramu nti kati tulinawo
kyekitopinze
okusasula kyekisinze okutwala sente nyingi bwe tuddako ekizeeko okutwala sente nyingi ye human capital development
omwo mulimu ebintu bingi awo
human capital development twetaaga okubanga waliwo okusomesa abantu omunge mu trainings ez'enjawulo oba technical institutes bwe zityo tuzimbe the human capital kakati awo tutaddewo obuse 8 n'obutuntundu 7
lwakubanga nti human capital development is long term impact yakyo eri long term kati ate ng'ebizibu bye tulina ssaawa zino mu Uganda olabira ddala nga kyetaaga ekintu reaction oba effect egenda okuyamba omuntu mu short term nti bw'ogamba nti human capital development kyekimu ku ebyo biri kutopinga tugenda kutraininga abantu ku mindset change mindset change omuntu akyuse endowooza tasobola akyusa ndowooza in 1 year president abadde agamba nga technical tuteeke technical schools tusimbe seed schools tutraininga abantu ebyo ebintu it's like developing a country nga temulina bizibu
tuzimba skills
naye abannayuganda saa zino nga talina kyakulya ewuwe nga mafuta galinnye nga mu ddwaliro temuli ddagala nga n'amakubo gayitako tegasobola kati waliwo oteeka ssente kirungi naye kiba tekiyamba kibeeranga waka ewaka enju egenda bagwako ebagwira kome ne mugamba n'ogula ettaka n'ogula endokwa z'emivule n'ogamba emivule enno gino wetugisimba buli muvule gumu wegunenkanira bwe guti guliba gwakakadde kituufu kyoyogera naye enju egenda kugwa the impact and the profit zigenda kulwawo
governance and security obuse 7 n'obusirikitu 3 that is 0.3
governance
and security ebimu ebyokwerinda
tusooke tukwate ku governance governance okimanyi nga Uganda fa tulina abakulembeze nga baagala competinga ne bakulembera tulina abakulembeze nga baagala competinga ne bakulembera kati kwata abantu abali mu administration tandikira ku LC1 LC2 omuwomuluka bakansala be LC5 abakaba parliament ba RDC ba presidential ambassadors ba presidential advisors abantu abo bonna wo bagatta buli mukulembeze buli bantu abaweranga 10 mu Uganda balina abantu nga 2 oposegera abalinga nti every RDC in Uganda tusobola okumwaloketingira abantu nga 10 nti bw'okwata abakulembeze the governance in Uganda etwala sente nyingi abakulembeze babateekamu sente nyingi naye obukulembeze bwabwe ne butakyusa tebukyusa be bakulembera awo wenyini parliament we yayisizza obuwumbi 193 yeyongeza allowances bafuna allowance ebukadde 11 bebasalako emisolo butuuka ku bukadde 6 tebagamba
tweyongereko
omanye ensonga gye batuwadde ebyenfuna mu ggwanga biri bubi bannange era amafuta kati baagala
taata
bafuna 24
ekyokulabirako ekya taata ali awaka nga taata yagula emmere agamba abawaka abange ebyenfuna biri bubi naye bwe yaleese enkoko ye ayagala kulya ludda lulamba
ebyenfuna biri bubi
mwe mugabane kali akawawaatiro ye taata agamba bale mutuleke butulese ebyenfuna biri bubi akati minisita oba MP okitegedde ebyenfuna biri bubi wakola otya oba twala budget mu parliament budgetary proposals bwebateekako ebyamafuta none of them objected tugende n'ekyamafuta tetugajjaako omusolo. Kenya reduced, Rwanda did the same, Tanzania did the same.
It is said in Uganda
ne basalako ku mafuta ku misolo kubanga kiri ku bo balaba embeera egaanyi. Bw'otunuulira bajeti ya Kenya olwaleero gye basoma nabo olwaleero basoma bajeti ya Kenya neneko ogigeraageranya ku yaffe naye eya Kenya nene lwaki population wise Kenya planingira abantu bangi ekirala Kenya erina investments nyingi, Kenya byepulaninga bingi, nekirala Kenya egenda mu kalulu kati walina okubaawo ebintu bingi bibazannya. Kenya erimu trillions nga 66 zibagenda okusoma
mu kuzitunulira mu zino eza Uganda
mu kuzitunulira. Kakati bw'otunuulira eziri wa Tanzania ndowooza egenda kusoma beewaabwe balinga 2.14 naye nga bw'ozizza mu za Uganda bayinza okuba nga bali mu trillions ndowooza nga 15 oba 20 something zibalina beewaabwe zibagenda okusomerako okutambulirako. Rwanda ntonoko kubanga bwogerageranya efaranga tugigula 1.06 kati bole babane 4.2 trillion zibagenda okusobola okubalirira nga bwebalirira nabo tebagenze waggulu nnyo. Almost mu East African community fe tuli namba 2 ku Kenya naye mu nkulaakulana ate bannaffe bali batuli wala.
Okusoma budget yennene kituyamba tutya wano mu Uganda kubanga zigenda zirinnya
tugenda okukola bingi bitugenda okukolako bingi kugambye wano ebyokwe governance
soko olindeko soko mayanja soko olindeko ebiwandiike n'ebikolebwa byanjawulo. Tusomye budget ya 44 trillions
48
ngambe egwake tusooke tukola analysis allocation ezo ze baakolamu eyeweddeko twabiraba.
Of course era bikoleddwa
waliwo ebikoleddwa we appreciate mu budget eyo mwenyini mwe twalina supplementary ez'okulima enguudo wa eno ekongo kitegeera simanyi oba n'essomero eryeno lyali omwo ery'e Tanzania oba it was special naye kye twogera kyekimu nti ebudget egenda erinnya buli kaseera bedde akadde kagenda tutuuka tusomeko 100 trillions mu Uganda wano
nga tuweze. It depends on how many people you are planning for. Budget ya Uganda
lwaki tetukola budget kwezi zetusobola okusoloza tugambe we can collect 30 kale tusobola okusoloza 25 tukole 30 tube realistic.
Oyavuddeyo n'akugamba nti we are tending to the middle income class.
Yet congratulating we already in the middle
we already there. Kati feba nansi tulaba atuyimba naye nga ye bw'aba atunudde alaba we are there. Nali nnyonnyola no Junior ne mugamba nti tulina ekizibu kyekutategeera bannansi ensi yonna oba abantu abasinga kali mu Uganda tebamanyi lwaki waliwo third world countries ne first world countries ne wateberawo second world countries.
Kati tulinawo wa middle income.
They are the economists. Bamwani Gobi. Bamwani Muhakanizi. Boba bitegeera ba Dr.
Muwumuza.
Nabasoma balina gundi oyo. Ba Dr. Dumba Sentamu. Bakimanyi nti after World War II amawanga agamu twalina amawanga ga mirundi esatu. Nti twalinawo third world countries ezaali zikyakula nga Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, baani abaali abato fena twali bato. Even Singapore ne bwogenda Taiwan bonna bali mu third world.
Twali bato ffenna naye kati ate waliwo abaakona.
Kati China, South Africa, India, Japan bali mu second world. Be bali mu second world. Amawanga nga Brazil bali mu second world. Kati nga bali mu first world be Babungereza, be America, ba Russia, ba USSR, bonga Europa balaba bakulakulanye nnyo. Kakati amawanga gano South Africa, India, Venezuela, Brazil ne balabanga abo bakoze eki basituse balumba ne babuuka mu second world ne bagwa mu first class or first world. Kakati fene baluleka mu third ne tusigala nga tetulina kantu.
So kati nga mu second tewali aba third tebasobola kujja mu second.
We are tending there.
Okay. Twenda kuba ate nga tukulaga ekiri kuva mu kisaawe ekyekololo. Omukulembeze w'eggwanga tuli musuubira okubaawo baminisita ababaka ba paalamenti n'abantu abagwa mu ituliro ebifaananyi n'eryo. Wazira twenda okuba ate nga tukuba nti embalirira ey'omwaka guno y'omunnayuganda etakutiisa nenda okuba ekintu kirala iwe yongera okubaako nekyokola ng'oyingiza esente. Piddi nenda okubera ekintu kino nti omunnayuganda omwavu n'azira gwabanda ate ng'azira kyatunda kidibye. Bw'oba ozira gwobanda adeemye okusasula ng'ate ezira kyotunda kideemye kutambula. Then awo takubera muntu nti oli mwavu. So baako nikyokola. Byonna ebinaatambula amafuta, emisolo n'ebindi byonna Uganda is not ending tomorrow. Kuna kudomwezi 19 president yayogera ku 18 obwire twali tuloza nti wedo Uganda ejakoma radio, but we ended up here. So katweyunge kubana ifabali ekololo tusobola okubona nti tukutuusa kuyonona ngabe eri kutambula oda kusobola okubatinga munange obitegeefe tukaaliwo kukutemera esente ono dali koba nti tiditegerekeka ayiniwe eno edasobola okubatinga ngo edaditegeera bataye abantu basoma
onakyenca ogera kulaba omuntu ayongeza omuti gwa sabuni ogwadde ogw'omutwalo agutunda gumu 2 oba gumu kitundu. Lwaki budget tewayiwulidde? Bati nensi ekindi kyenako by'abantu ab'amaduuka wetubanga nga tuli kugoba omwibi wena kabiri otayiba mwino gwoli kulumuka naye kabiri mubenga abali ibinga omwibi mwona mulimu abayibi ab'amaduuka mutafuuka ino okwenda ino sente nti ojja kwiduuka wali oyo atunda mutwalo oli oyo atunda mulala ibyo oli akoba who decides the price? Black market yaliwo. That black market yalingi nti bwe balabanga ebintu bizze abamu they just hold. Akati omuntu ayo tuyamba mu mbeera eno ye mwami tumutwalenga ye mwami jajja mwami nti aveeyo agambe ebitongole alagire bayiro singa olabanga basolooza amasanyalaze
naye oba n'ekyamasanze kyamulema
bwebaba basoloza ekyamasanyalaze n'amagye gavaayo nibo bakwata banoonye bagendeko mu maduuka balaba amaduuka agaseera omuti gwa sabuni.
Ekyo tekisoboka mu ggwanga Uganda. Tekisoboka mu ggwanga Uganda olw'ensonga tuli mu liberal economy.
100 akatulwa akishupa ka 10 okagula 10 wano paka n'eggulu ka 10 lwaki sabuni ye togamba nti omuti gwa sabuni gwa gakakaaga wano n'eggulu.
Obuzibu obuliwo buli bumu kyekiki mbadde ngamba nti tekisoboka mu ggwanga Uganda cause tuli mu liberal economy. Every person agenda kuwa ensonga lwaki ayongezaako sente ezo and ezimu zigenda kubeera genuine. Oli akugambe nina wano wembijja nteeka mu transport emisolo n'ebirala so kati nange wembalabala mba nina oteekako ebitaano ebyo olwo 10 olwo akakaaga ako nsobola okufunamu. Kati ate naawe nga government osobola kuvaayo n'ogamba kati tulangirira emiwendo. Of course tubisubira kati nga tusoma budget wano bandigambye omunyu
kiloweight
ya sente bweziti ennyama
kiloweight
sente bweziti omuti gwa sabuni so kati munnayuganda yonna waali
president minister n'amala akikola n'akyogera ayinza okulaba eggwanga bwe lyesetinga lyokka nga nze nsobola okuloopamu esugwa nti yansedde omuti gwa sabbuuni.
Naye ate ojjukire ekiteeso kya paalamenti bwe kyajja ekyokulevelinga njasi nkuwa kyakulabirako ekyokulevelinga school fees masomero ga private golooza lwaki kyagaana abagenda okirevelinga be bannannyini bizinesi kati nekino Uganda erimu kakateera ako abo bamafiya abali mu bizinesi eno kati tasobola gamba nti tukole bwe tuti
kyekine ku mafuta otuuka ku petrol station eno nga waliyo bintu otuuka ku eri waliyo kiri otuuka ku eno nga waliyo kirala nokati amafuta getunywa gali mu Uganda oba tiga Uganda tetunaga reserve gaiza kuba kaawo
batugamba nti otereka amafuta ga reserve tekisoboka kale katube nga tweyunga ku teekateeka eddiri ekololo tusobole okuba ate nga tubona details edisinga ku wano tusaba otugobereyo Wolkubaba TV tudda kwongera okuba ate nga tukulaga n'ebyo ebinairako otavaawo.
Of COVID, the pandemic is spreading once again, and it's our responsibility to inform you that you must observe SOPs. Our standard operating procedures insist that you must have your mask on at all times, and please also sanitize as and when you need to, and observe social distancing. If we make any changes to the norm of activities for the day, this is also in line with SOPs and in recognition of the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic seems to be on the rise again. So shortly we shall be joined by His Excellency the President, and in case you don't have a copy of the order paper, I shall take you through it once again. After His Excellency arrives, we shall have the playing of the anthems, specifically the Uganda National Anthem and the East African Anthem. Thereafter, we shall have the recitation of the prayers, the parliamentary prayer, to be followed by a proclamation by the right of Parliament today. Once that commences, we shall have communication from the chair, from the speaker, and then the presentation of the budget speech by the Minister for Finance, and thereafter remarks by His Excellency the President. After these remarks, we shall have the formal adjournment, followed by the anthems in reverse order, played starting with the East African Anthem and winding up with the Uganda National Anthem. I'm sure most of you can see the signs now that we are just about to be joined by His Excellency the President. The first cars are already on the grounds, and shortly the presidential car shall actually come in and proceed through the street guard mounted by officers and men of the Uganda Police Force. After the street guard, the President shall be received by the Right Honourables, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, the Clerk to Parliament, and presiding officers at table. After the President comes in and has taken his position, we shall have the anthems, and the day that we have all been anticipating shall officially begin. So let me take this opportunity to ask members of Parliament to please take your seats. Ensure once again that your masks are on. I hope you have all sanitized. Ensure that you're seated with adequate spacing between you and your neighbor, so that we can curb the rise of COVID-19. I'm sure you can now see the presidential motorcade come in, and it will go through the street guard mounted by Uganda Police Force and thereafter the President shall be received by the officials, the leadership of the Parliament of Uganda. Those sounds of the bugles from the Uganda Police Force and the street guard are a form of a guard of honor. This is a street guard mounted by the Uganda Police Force. So, distinguished guests, allow me to formally inform you that we have been joined by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, accompanied by the First Lady, Mama Janet Museveni, and they're being received by officials from Parliament, led by the Right Honourable Speaker, the Right Honourable Anita Annette Among, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, Right Honourable Thomas Tayebwa, the Clerk to Parliament, Adolphe Musigin, and officials from Parliament. So His Excellency the President, waving to you. I'm sure this is your time to wave back. Let us receive him in the African way with a good hand clap. Even as the President proceeds to his seat, that will also be our saluting dais for the day. The procession of Parliament shall now take over, and the proceedings of Parliament shall ensue shortly as announced by the Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, the President and Madam Speaker.
The anthems. Prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as promote your honor and glory, and advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Amen. Proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament of Uganda.
Whereas His Excellency, the President has, under Article 101, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, indicated to the Speaker his intention to address Parliament and the nation on the national budget for financial year 2022-2023. Aware that the financial year 2021-2022 will end on 30th day of June 2022. Noting that it's important that the President addresses Parliament and the nation on the national budget for the financial year 2022-2023. Now, therefore, in the exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker by Article 95, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Rule 17.1 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda, I hereby proclaim that Parliament shall sit at Kololo Independence Ground on Tuesday, 14th June 2022 at 14 hours to receive the address of His Excellency, the President, on the national budget for the financial year 2022-2023. And the Kololo Independence Ground to be the precincts of Parliament for the above-mentioned purpose, given under my hand at Parliament House, Kampala, on 27th day of May 2022. Anita Annette Among, Speaker of Parliament.
Communication from the Chair.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, and Mama Janet Museveni, and the First Lady, and also the Minister of Education and Sports, Your Excellency, the Vice President, His Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Right Honourable Deputy Speaker, His Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Vice Chairperson of NRM, the Right Honourable Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business in Parliament, the Leader of Opposition in Parliament, Cabinet Ministers and Ministers of State, my colleagues, the Honourable Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors and High Commissioners, leaders of political parties, all public servants present, the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to today's sitting in the Parliament, whose main objective is to receive the budget speech for the financial year 2022-2023. As you may recall, When we gathered here a week ago, that was on 7th June 2022, to receive the State of Nation address, we adjourned the House to today, 14th June 2022, for a purpose of receiving this budget speech. Preparation of the budget is a constitutional obligation of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, imposed under Article 155, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which states that the President shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, but in any case, not later than the 15th day before the commencement of the financial year. Estimates of revenue and expenditure of the government for the next financial year. The budget speech that we are going to receive today is a culmination of the budget formulation and approval process, which began with a budget call circular for the financial year 2022-2023, issued on 15th of September 2021, and that is in line with the Section 9(3) of the Public Finance Management Act 2025. Parliament received and considered the National Budget Framework Paper for financial year 2022-2023, 2026-2027, in accordance to Section 9, 5, and 8 of the Public Finance Management Act 2025. Your Excellency, the ministries, departments, and agencies submitted their ministerial policy statements for financial year 2022-2023 in accordance with the Section 1313 of the Public Finance Management Act. The ministerial policy statements were considered together with the budget estimates of 2022-2023, which culminated into passing of the Appropriation Bill 2022, and we must thank you for signing the Appropriation Bill. Honorable members, the budget speech is a Minister of Finance statement on the overall budget policy of the Executive for the forthcoming year and a summary of the key budget policy proposals. The importance of the budget process is anchored in the legislative, philosophical, and historical power of the pursuit that is provided under Article 156 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The power of appropriation denotes the constitutional mandate of the legislature to authorize the expenditure of the public money for a purpose proposed by the executive. This authority is elaborated under Chapter 9 of the Constitution, specifically Article 152 to Article 159, that are operationalized by the Public Finance Management Act 2015. Indeed, the exercise of this power is manifested in the appropriation as a mandate of Parliament. Budget implementation will commence on 1st July 2022. I urge all the eligible accounting officers to ensure that value for money in whatever expenditure is as per approved budget. I call upon all the accounting officers to be accountable for all the resources brought under their charge in line with the Article 164 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. In this regard, I reiterate the commitment of the 11th Parliament to effectively play our oversight role in examining the economy's efficiency and effectiveness in the expenditure of public funds. The budget reading process offers the country and citizens an opportunity to know the government priorities for the next financial year. It informs us of how the desired revenue will be raised and forms of basis upon which the accounting officers or implementing authorities shall be held responsible. I therefore urge all of you to listen attentively so that you can be able to move together as we listen to the budget speech. Honorable members, once more, with today being a very important day where the budget is going to be read, I urge all of you, after the budget reading, to go to your constituencies for 2 weeks to monitor the implementation and the preparatory activities of the parish development model, so as to ensure its success. A lot of money has been channeled to your constituencies, and it is only upon the leadership to ensure the success of that money. So we will go and monitor that for 2 weeks. Honorable members, as we start the second session of this Parliament, we shall dedicate the first meeting to consider bills, the second meeting to consider reports, petitions, motions, and the third meeting to consider the budget process. This time round, we must start the budget process early. I therefore urge you, the executive, to table in the bills enumerated in the address of the State of Nation by His Excellency, the President, as quickly as possible so that they can be handled expeditiously. I also wish to remind the chairpersons to ensure that these bills are presented in the House as soon as possible so that we pass these bills, and it is through these bills that we are able to legislate well. Finally, honorable colleagues, the leadership has organized a 3-day induction workshop for members of 11th Parliament from 15th to 17th June 2022 at Imperial Royal Hotel. I urge all of you to attend the sessions of this important workshop. We no longer want an excuse that we're not trained. So the training is on. I want to thank you all and thank you for coming.
Item number 5, presentation of the budget speech.
Your Excellency, it is my great pleasure to invite you or your delegate to present the budget speech. Your Excellency, please.
Honorable Speaker, can I remove my mask?
Please go ahead and remove, but first sanitize.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Mama, the First Lady and the Minister for Education and Sports, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Your Lordship, the Deputy Chief Justice, the Vice Chairman of the NRM Party, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors and heads of diplomatic missions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, in fulfillment of Article 155, Part 1 of our Constitution, I have been delegated by His Excellency the President to present to Parliament the budget for the financial year 2022-2023. My statement today will highlight the budget as approved by Parliament on 20th of May 2022. Right Honorable Speaker, on 20th March 2022, we lost a gallant son and Speaker of this august House, the late Right Honorable Jacob Lokri Oranya. I beg and request that once more we observe a unit of silence in this memory. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Honored Speaker, the NRM government's overriding goal is to achieve socio-economic transformation for the benefit of all Ugandans, thus improving their lives. We must therefore quickly accelerate the economic recovery that began in financial year 2021-22, integrate more Ugandans into the money economy, and speed up growth in the country's productive sectors. Madam Speaker, the theme of the budget for financial year 22-23 is therefore full monetization of Uganda's economy through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding and broadening services, digital transformation, and market access. This theme summarizes our budget strategy and a priority that I will later elaborate. The theme is in line with that of the East African community, which is accelerating economic recovery and enhancing productive sectors for improved livelihoods. Madam Speaker, to achieve Uganda's socio-economic transformation, the NRM has resolved to pursue the following goals in forthcoming year and the medium term. 1, kickstart the process of getting the households still engaged in subsistence into the money economy. 2, support businesses and the overall economy to recover from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and restore the lost jobs and livelihoods. And 3, finally, protect households from rising prices of food, fuel, and other essential commodities using prudent economic policies. Madam Speaker, to achieve these goals, the following key strategic action will be undertaken. 1, maintain peace, security, and stability, which jointly are the foundation of all other government, business, and household plans. 2, full implementation of the parish development model to accelerate the transition of the 39% of households still engaged in the subsistence economy into the money economy. 3, step up implementation of the relief and recovery funds to support the recovery of businesses and restore the lost jobs and livelihoods. These relief funds include the Small Business Recovery Fund, the Myoga Fund, the Microfinance Credit to SACCOs, the Uganda Development Bank, the Uganda Development Corporation, debt and equity funds, respectively. Implement appropriate fiscal and monetary policies to mitigate the impact of price shocks on the well-being of ordinary Ugandans without causing long-term distortion in the economy. Enhance investment in infrastructure to facilitate increased production, value addition, and national regional market success and entry. Madam Speaker, in this budget statement, I will do the following. 1, I will report on the performance of the economy and review our future economic prospects. 2, I will provide progress in the implementation of the development programs that we promised the people of Uganda during the last financial year, which is ending by end of this month, and the priorities for the next financial year, 22-23. 3, highlight the revenue and expenditure framework for the next financial year, 22-23, as approved by Parliament. Recent economic performance and outlook. Madam Speaker, I now wish to give highlights on the performance of the economy and the accountability for the measures I announced in the financial year 21-22 budget. The details can be found in the background to the budget of 22-23, which has been published. Economic growth. Madam Speaker, the size of our economy is projected to expand to shillings 162.1 trillion for the financial year ending 30th June this year. This is equivalent to US dollars 45.7 billion. Economic activity has been more buoyant at the growth rate of 4.6% per annum this financial year, up from 3.5% of last year. This shows that the economy is on a path to full recovery from the COVID-19 disruptions. Madam Speaker, with this buoyant recovery and the resilience of the economy induced by our deliberate and prudent economic policies, Uganda's GDP per capita has increased to US dollars 1,046 in current prices, which is equivalent to Uganda shillings 3.7 million per person per year. Madam Speaker, the services sector is expected to grow by 3.8%, up from 2.8% growth last financial year. This is on an account of continued recovery in the wholesale and retail trade, education and tourism services, coupled with growth in real estate activities and ICT. The services sector is projected to contribute 41.5% to our GDP. The industrial sector is expected to grow by 5.4%, up from 3.5% growth last financial year, largely on account of recovery in manufacturing, construction activities. The industrial sector is projected to contribute 26.8% to our GDP. The agriculture sector is expected to grow by 4.3%, largely as a result of growth in food and cash crop production, livestock, as well as recovery in fishing. This is the same rate at which the agriculture sector grew last year. The sector contributed 24.1% to the total economic output. Now I turn to prices. Madam Speaker, in the second half of the financial year 21-22, however, there has been a significant increase in the prices for some of the essential commodities and services. These include laundry soap, bar soap, petrol and diesel, cooking oil, some food crops items such as wheat, sugar, potatoes, and onions. Education services and building materials such as cement and steel have also experienced price increases. As a result, the overall inflation has increased considerably from 2.7% in January 2022 to 6.3% in May 2022, causing considerable discomfort among the public. Madam Speaker, this recent increase in the prices of essential commodities is a result of events that have occurred outside Uganda. These are the effect of COVID-19 restrictions across the world, which disrupted supply chains, which has consequently caused a shortage of intermediate raw materials used to produce some essential commodities. In the recent past, the global economy has faced high shipping costs arising from limited availability of containers and higher fuel prices, altogether leading to supply shortages globally. 3. The full opening of the economies globally following relative containment during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown has led to a rapid rise in aggregate demand for a number of fast-moving goods, beginning with oil. Yet production levels have been constrained by COVID-19 restrictions. 4. The situation has been worsened by the Russian-Ukraine conflict, which has further disrupted the supply of oil, cereals such as wheat, maize, sunflower oil, as well as essential metals like aluminum and nickel. The two countries are major producers and exporters of these commodities. Madam Speaker, appropriate measures to curb the rising prices in the short, medium, and long term will be implemented. These measures include: 1. Supporting farmers to grow more fast-maturing food and oil seeds to ensure sufficient domestic supply. 2. Maintaining a market-based determination of prices to support a continuous supply of goods and services. This is intended to ensure that demand does not outstrip supply. 3. Expediting improvement of alternative fuel import routes across Lake Victoria to avoid possible unnecessary supply disruptions. 4. Using appropriate fiscal and monetary policies to mitigate the impact of price shocks. 5. Construct additional fuel storage infrastructure in the medium term and stock them adequately. And 6. Expediting commercial oil production and development of the oil refinery. Madam Speaker and colleagues, government cannot influence price levels whose changes are driven by external shocks that are outside this control. We will therefore not be applying measures which can lead to long-term and painful distortions in the economy. For example, persistent shortages of goods, hoarding, and black markets. Exchange rate developments. Madam Speaker, over the past year, the Uganda shilling initially strengthened against the US dollars, appreciating by 2.3% between April 2021 and April 2022. This appreciation was on account of higher dollar inflows from our exports, foreign direct investment, and foreigners buying government treasury bills and bonds. However, the shilling has experienced significant depreciation pressures since March 2022 on account of concerns arising from the Ukraine-Russian conflict and related sanctions, as well as rising interest rates in advanced economies. The shilling depreciated by 1.7% month on month on average in the 3 months to June 2022, and by 6.7% against the US dollar between June 2021 and June 2022. The Bank of Uganda is taking appropriate measures to avoid volatile fluctuations, but not preventing the exchange rate movements. Interest rates. Madam Speaker, commercial bank lending rates for shilling-denominated loans marginally declined to 18.8% in the 10-month period of April 2022, down from 19.1% in the same period in the previous year. Reduction in lending rates occurred in the transport and communication, building, mortgages, construction, and real estate, and personal and household loans sector. Now, external sector performance. Madam Speaker, total export receipts of goods and services amounted to US dollars 5.74 billion in the 12 months to April 2022, down from 6.2 billion in the previous 12 months. Merchandise exports reduced by US dollars 858 million the same period. However, coffee receipts increased by US dollars 279.5 million to US dollars 811 million in the same period. Madam Speaker, private sector imports of goods have increased significantly to US dollars 6.4 billion in the year of April 2022 from US dollars 5.0 billion in previous 12 months. This increase is attributed largely to investments in the oil and the gas sector. For the same reason, foreign direct investment has rebounded strongly to US dollars 1.3 billion in the year to April 2022 from US dollars 892 million in the same period a year before. Uganda's international reserves at the end of April 2022 increased to US dollars 4.54 billion, equivalent to about 4.6 months of imports. This was an increase from US dollars 3.54 billion as at April 2021. Fiscal performance. Madam Speaker, the revenue collections target in the financial 21-22 budget was shillings 22.425 trillion. Total revenue collection is now projected at shillings 21.486 trillion. This represents a shortfall of shillings 939 billion. And I will tell you a story ahead what this effect has got on our planning. Despite this revenue shortfall, domestic revenue collection this financial year has improved compared to last year. This has been on account of improved tax administration and increased economic activity following the full reopening of the economy in January 2022. Madam Speaker, total government expenditure excluding domestic debt refinancing, external debt amortization, and appropriation aid is projected and regional security threats. Madam Speaker, the fiscal deficit this financial year, 21-22, is estimated at 7.3% of GDP, which is lower than 9% fiscal deficit registered in financial year 2021. Our target is to reduce this fiscal deficit to 3% in the medium term. COVID-19 mitigation measures. Madam Speaker, government implemented several measures to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on households and businesses. These measures were aimed primarily at keeping Ugandans alive and also to restore business activity. To date, the outcomes of these measures are as follows. Health and social support response. Madam Speaker, government implemented robust action to contain the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects on households. These actions included: 1. Enforcement of COVID-19 SOPs and guidelines and free mass vaccination. A total of 16 million people, equivalent to 72% of the targeted 22 million persons, have received at least one dose. 2. Provision of shilling 53.5 billion as cash relief grants to adversely affected people, including border riders, saloon workers, food vendors, private school teachers, ghetto residents, and street vendors. 3. Strengthening health care systems, including regional and national referral hospitals, by equipping 143 intensive care units, upgrading of 255 health center 2s to health center 3s, and the recruitment of 400 health workers. And 4. Funding scientific research and development, including COVID vaccines, funding scientific research and development, including COVID vaccines development and innovative therapeutics such as COVIDX. Madam Speaker, during the pandemic, learning continued with the provision of home learning materials across the country. Following the full reopening of the schools, an additional 2,900 primary and secondary school teachers have been recruited and deployed to help the learners to catch up with the lost time. Restoring business activity. Madam Speaker, to support the recovery of the economy, government has provided credit relief to borrowers as well as funding to micro, small, and medium enterprises and corporate large businesses. The following progress has been registered. 1. Bank of Uganda extended credit relief to enable borrowers unable to service their loans during the pandemic to restructure them. Loans totaling shillings 7.2 trillion, representing 40% of total loans, were restructured over the period. 2. Domestic arrears to private sector suppliers of goods and services to government, totaling to shillings 526 billion, were cleared. In addition, court awards amounting to shillings 57 billion were also settled. 3. Microfinance Support Center was funded to support micro businesses through the Myoga Fund, 100 billion shillings, and support to SACCO, shillings 27 billion. Consequently, 6,600 SACCOs and 205,000 savings groups have been established across the country. These are operating a total of 4.1 million accounts. As a result, savings worth 63 billion as at the end of April this year, among the lowest earners of this country, have been realized. For small businesses that do not fall under Myoga and are at the same time do not qualify for UDB funding, the shillings 200 billion Small Business Recovery Fund has been established in partnership with the Bank of Uganda, supervised financial institutions, to offer credit at a subsidized interest rate of 10% per annum. 5. To support the recovery of medium and large-scale businesses, Uganda Development Bank was capitalized to the tune of 636 billion Uganda shillings and which was fully disbursed by May 2022 at an interest rate of 3% per annum. In addition, UDB plans to disburse a further 351 billion Uganda shillings by December this year. For private sector enterprises engaged in strategic industrial development of the country, such as agro-processing, manufacturing, and mineral beneficiation, the Uganda Development Corporation, UDC, received 160.7 billion this financial year to make equity joint ventures investment with those businesses. 7, government has also disbursed the shillings 20 billion to Teachers Circle to support them to recover from the pandemic. 8, in the financial year 21-22, the Agricultural Credit Facility disbursed a total of shillings 67.4 billion to 1,057 borrowers as at June 2022. Cumulatively, the fund has financed a total of 3,120 farmers across the country to a tune of shillings 737.3 billion shillings. Following amendment of the National Social Security Fund Act to allow mid-term access for qualifying members, a total of shillings 420 billion has so far been paid out to about 21,500 beneficiaries. And 10, for women entrepreneurs, I have received a US $217 million grant from the World Bank to provide funding in the coming financial year to middle-level businesses managed by women to support their growth and create jobs. Madam Speaker, as a result of the above measures, we have begun to see positive trends in business activity. For example, during the 10 months from July 2021 to April 2022, there was a 38% increase in taxpayers, with 686,000 new taxpayers being added to the taxpayer register. In addition, investors' sentiments about doing business in Uganda have remained positive in the recent months, as illustrated by the following indicators between July 2021 and May 2022. 1, the Business Tendency Index, which has increased by 20.8%. The Business Tendency Index measures the level of optimism that executives have about current and expected outlook for production, order levels, employment, prices, and access to credit. 2, the Purchasing Managers Index, which has increased by 48.8%. This is an indicator of business activity both in manufacturing and service sectors. 3, the Composite Index of Economic Activity, which has increased by 4.3%. This CIA represents the monthly underlying forces in the national economy. Now we turn to the medium-term economic outlook. Madam Speaker and the colleagues, future prospects for our economy are very positive, with minimum term growth projected at 6.5% per annum. We could repeat the other thing. May I repeat it? The positive economic outlook is dependent on the following. 1, the full reopening of the economy. 2, the increase in global demand for some commodities we produce and export, such as coffee, livestock, tea, and other food products. 3, commercialization of oil and gas following the announcement of the final investment decision in February this year. 4, active import substitution for goods that Uganda can produce and export competitively, such as pharmaceuticals. 5, support private sector industries, particularly in the agro-industry, light manufacturing, and value addition to our minerals. 6, improved access to affordable credit for micro, small, and medium enterprises to enable their businesses revive and create jobs. 7, fast-tracking the implementation of the parish development model, which targets increased production of strategic commodities for domestic consumption as well as for export. 8, digitization of the economy to realize efficiency gains in business and government. Now I turn to financial year 2022-23 budget strategy. Madam Speaker and colleagues, the budget strategy for the financial year 22-23 and over the medium term seeks to restore economic activity to the pre-pandemic levels and subsequently accelerate the pace of socio-economic transformation. The 3 broad objectives of the strategies are: 1, sustaining peace, security, and stability, as well as macroeconomic stability as key foundations for recovery, growth, and socio-economic transformation. 3, mitigation of the COVID-19 impact on business activity, livelihoods, and overall economy. 3, speeding up socio-economic transformation by repurposing the budget towards wealth and job creation, as well as other impactful investments. Imperatives for implementing the financial year 22-23 budget. Madam Speaker and colleagues, in order to achieve these 3 key objectives, the following imperatives must be adhered to. 1, national budget reform to make it more redistributive and responsive to national priorities. 2, enhanced fiscal discipline to limit supplementary expenditure to only unforeseen and unavoidable spending within the 3% provided for under the law. 3, enhanced domestic revenue mobilization to increase the revenue to GDP ratio to a target of 18% over the medium term. 4, limit the borrowing to restore the debt to GDP ratio to within 50% over the medium term as provided for in the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. 5, continued alignment of the budget to the National Development Plan to ensure that our development priorities are adequately funded. 6, automate government processes and systems to enhance efficiency, save money, fight fraud, and other forms of corruption. 7, rationalization and restructuring of government to eliminate duplication, overlaps, mandate wars, and resource wastage. Now I turn to financial year budget priorities. Madam Speaker, the key priorities for the financial year 22-23 budget are the following. 1, enhancement of security, the rule of law, and fighting corruption. 2, sustaining economic recovery. 3, implementation of the parish development model to create wealth and jobs. 4, promotion of agro-industrialization, standards, and market entry. 5, commercialization of oil and gas. 6, enhancement of transport, energy, and ICT infrastructure. 7, enhancing human capital development, science, innovation, and knowledge transfer. 8, enhancing public sector effectiveness and efficiency. Enhancing security, the rule of law, and anti-corruption. Madam Speaker, peace, security, and stability, as well as rule of law, are the bedrock of socio-economic transformation. We all know that. And thus must remain the key government priority. Peace, security, and stability. Madam Speaker, The recent surge in cattle theft and cross-border conflicts in the Karamoja sub-region have been and will continue to be addressed. I'm sure the President will make a comment on this. In a recent supplementary budget, government provided shillings 112.5 billion to facilitate the UPDF to carry out operations and the Ministry of Works and Transport to construct security roads in the Karamoja sub-region. The UPDF will also continue with the pacification of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in line with the agreement with the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Madam Speaker, with respect to capacity and the well-being of our security forces, government will, in the medium term, embark on enhancement of pay for our gallant men and women in uniform. I'm talking, I always talk. Madam Speaker, the construction of the military referral hospital in Mbuya is on schedule and within budget. Madam Speaker, in order to enhance surveillance and improve crime detection, the first phase of CCTV camera project was successfully implemented with installation of over 3,000 cameras countrywide. The second phase is now 95% complete and targets all cities and the major highways. Madam Speaker, 3.987 trillion shillings has been provided for improvement of security and security infrastructure. Rule of law. Madam Speaker, in order to enhance the rule of law, the priority will be to improve the dispensation of justice for all. The judiciary will be supported to allow for speedy dispensation of justice and address the backlog of cases. In terms of systems that enhance the judicial process, the electronic court case management information system to improve case management is now functional in 7 court circuits within the greater Kampala metropolitan area. Additionally, the video conferencing system is operational in several courts across the country. To roll out the electronic court case management information system and the video conferencing system, in addition to 10 courts, will also commence next financial year. Madam Speaker, administration of justice will be strengthened with the recruitment of more judicial officers, the establishment of 2 regional courts of appeal in Gulu and Mbarara, and 2 high court circuits in Luero and Soroti. In addition, 3 chief magistrates courts in Albeton, Liantonde, Budaka, and 4 grade 1 magistrate courts in Karenga, Patongo, Abim, Kyankwanzi districts will also be established. Madam Speaker, in order to further improve the delivery of justice, the construction of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal building will be completed soon. In addition, the Chief Magistrate buildings in Hoima, Ruero, Masindi districts, among others, were rehabilitated during the ending financial year. Madam Speaker, over 78% of the population can now access a frontline service point within a 5-kilometer radius. District coverage of justice frontline service points has increased from 61.5% in 2017 to 74% in 2021. Anti-corruption. Madam Speaker, we continue to make progress in the fight against corruption. There was increased declaration of income, assets, and liabilities by leaders from 25,000 to 400,000 in 2021, with increase in the scope of public servants who are required to declare income, assets, and liabilities. This financial year, 3 billion has been recovered from corrupt leaders and public servants and deposited with the consolidated fund. We need more. Madam Speaker, to enhance the rule of law and to step up the fight against corruption, I have provided shillings 381.6 billion to the judiciary, shillings 95.0 billion for the Directorate of Public Prosecution, shillings 876.4 billion for the Uganda Police, and shillings 308.7 billion for the Uganda Tourism Service. I have also allocated 79.4 billion for the Inspectorate of Government. Implementation of the parish development model. Madam Speaker and colleagues, in order to integrate the 5.5 million households currently working in the subsistence economy into the money economy and to proactively create wealth and jobs, the parish development model is going to be fully implemented in the coming financial year. Fully. Madam Speaker, in the financial year ending June 2022, 234 billion was provided for implementation of the PDM. More efforts have been focused on preparatory activities to prepare for full implementation of the model. These include recruitment of parish chiefs by all districts, data collection, verification of beneficiaries, establishment of circles, setting up of the PDM management unit in the Ministry of Local Government, and sensitization and mobilization, among others. Madam Speaker, next financial year, I provided a total of 1,059 Uganda shillings for full implementation of the model. Each of the 10,594 parishes in the country will receive 100 million as a revolving fund, earmarked for purchase of agricultural inputs by households still in subsistence. Madam Speaker, the parish development model will be complemented by other government programs such as the Myoga Fund, the Microfinance Support Center credit to other circles, village savings groups, the Small Business Recovery Fund, and other wealth creation initiatives. Now I turn to agricultural production. Madam Speaker, agricultural production will be enhanced using the first pillar of the parish development model that addresses production, agro-processing, and marketing through enhanced access and entry to national, regional, and global markets. This value chain approach allows development of sustainable linkages. The key interventions will include: 1, development of key commodities value chains that have a high impact on transforming the 39% of households in subsistence into the money economy. These include coffee, beef, dairy cattle, poultry, fish, piggery, fruits, food crops for intensive farming, the rest of enterprise including cassava, bananas, rice, Irish potatoes, millet, cotton, tea, cashew nuts, among others, will also be supported, but for relatively bigger. Expansion of irrigation schemes and providing community and individual on-farm water for production to minimize reliance on rain-fed agriculture and ensuring sustained agricultural production. Enhancement of research, breeding, and appropriate technology development through the National Animal Genetic Resource Center and the Data Bank and the National Agricultural Research Organization. Investment in and effective regulation of production, multiplication, and certification of quality agricultural inputs, including seeds, seedlings, stocking materials, and fertilizers. Enhancement of enterprise selection through enhanced farmer education and general agricultural extension, as well as pest and disease control at parish level. Promotion of appropriate land use, mechanization, cooperatives, and development of partnerships with large-scale farmers to produce for export and industrial value addition. Supporting fishing communities by developing hatcheries, fish ponds, and equipping them with engines, nets, etc. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 564.39 billion to increase production and productivity through the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries, and Fisheries. Now, climate change and environment degradation. Madam Speaker and colleagues, climate change is a significant risk for agriculture production and food security. In order to mitigate environmental degradation, we have set a target to increase the national forest cover from the current 20.4% to 15%. Central forest reserves will be protected from encroachment by resurveying and marking of 6,200 square kilometers of boundary. Madam Speaker, 850 square kilometers of wetlands and forests will also be restored by 1, having them demarcated and gazetted, and 2, evicting all encroachers. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 268 billion in the next financial year 2022-23 for actions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Now I turn promoting agro-industrialization, standards and market entry. Madam Speaker, promoting agro-industrialization, enforcing product standards and enabling market access and entry are key aspects for creating wealth and jobs. Next financial year, the following interventions will be prioritized. Expanding storage and processing capacity for agricultural commodities within the 18 zones of this country. 2, enhancing the use of warehouse receipt system to improve commodity storage, reduce post-harvest losses, improve value chain management, and increase income to farmers. 3, providing funds for private sector investment in key commodity agro-processing value chains through soft and patient debt from UDB and equity from UDC. 4, strengthening of standards for quality assurance to improve access to markets. 5, establishing a system for issuance and management of internationally recognized product barcodes, branding, packaging, and labeling of Uganda's products for visibility. 6, enhancing implementation of the export development strategy, including carrying out negotiations for access and entry to regional and international markets. 7, establishing fully serviced industrial parks. 8, promoting investment in strategic industries such as manufacture of pharmaceuticals, industrial sugar, starch, herbal extracts, and cotton-based medical sundries. 9, finalize the enactment of pending legal instruments, for example, the Competition Bill and the Consumer Protection Bill, anti-counterfeits and quality product laws. 10, developing a master plan for the Zombo Tea Factory and establishing enabling infrastructure including water and electricity. 11, expanding the Soroti Fruit Factory by installing additional processing equipment. Supporting there is also a factory in a place called Kakoge, which is handling Soroti fruit, which is handling mangoes, pineapples, and I visited it last Friday. That also will definitely help. 12, supporting establishment of 200 aggregation and collective marketing societies with cleaning, drying, grading, and processing equipment. I have allocated 1.449 trillion to promote agro-industrialization standards and market entry. Supporting economic recovery and commercialization of oil and gas. Madam Speaker, as I reported earlier, we have taken major steps to revive business activities, which we shall continue to do in the medium and in the following sectors. Tourism. Madam Speaker, tourism was severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The good news is that the sector is recovering very fast. Government shall support the sector to return to its pre-pandemic levels and beyond by prioritizing the following interventions. 1, facilitation of Uganda Tourism Board to rebrand and promote Uganda under the new Explore Uganda brand. 2, sustaining and upscaling investment in tourism infrastructure like roads, electricity, internet, and security. 3, easing access to recovery financing at the Uganda Development Bank. 4, intensifying promotion of domestic tourism. Madam Speaker, I have provided tourism activities with shillings 194.7 billion to complement private sector investment and support its recovery. Commercialization of oil and gas. Madam Speaker and colleagues, the construction of the East African crude oil pipeline is expected to commence the coming financial year. The capacity of the Uganda National Oil Company to invest in oil and gas development has also been enhanced. While there have been negative campaigns against the development of the crude oil pipeline, the government will develop Uganda's oil and gas resources in a responsible and sustainable manner for the benefit of all Ugandans. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 904.1 billion towards the development and commercialization of minerals, oil, and gas. Enhancing human capital development. Madam Speaker, having successfully contained the COVID-19 pandemic over the last 2 years, our efforts are going to be focused on improving the quality of life of the people of Uganda by prioritizing the following. Health. Madam Speaker, the emphasis now is on mass vaccination of all eligible persons and community disease surveillance by strengthening village health teams with training and equipping them with smartphone and bicycle. Additional health assistants and surveillance officers will be recruited to support the VHTs. Madam Speaker, the development of health infrastructure nationwide will continue. The rehabilitation and expansion of the following general hospitals will be undertaken: Itojo, Kabongo, Abimu, Kambuga, Masindi, Kanungu, Kapchorwa, Bugiri, and Amudat. In addition, 43 health centers, 2 will be upgraded to health center 3s, and 17 new health center 3s will be built in sub-counties without health facilities of such health facilities. 75 staff houses will also be built in the Karamoja region. Madam Speaker, next financial year, the Minister of Health will start implementing the Uganda COVID-19 Emergency Response and Preparedness Project, supported by a grant from the World Bank amounting to US dollars 100.3 million, which is equivalent to 667.1 billion Uganda shillings. This grant will finance the rapid detection, prevention, and quick responses to threats posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. It will also finance the strengthening of national systems for public health preparedness. Madam Speaker and colleagues, the construction and equipping of a modern health facility will commence in the coming financial year to be located in Naguru. This US dollar 70 million facility will be funded by the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, the Saudi Fund for Development, SDF, and the OPEC Fund for International Development, OPEC Fund. Madam Speaker, I have allocated a total of 3.722 trillion for healthcare delivery in financial year 22-23. Now I go to water. Madam Speaker, national safe water coverage now stands at 69.8%, with coverage in rural areas at 68% and 71.6% in urban areas. Our target is to increase safe water coverage to 81% over the medium term. Madam Speaker, during financial year 21-22, the following major water projects were implemented. 1. 5 medium-scale irrigation schemes in Ngenge, that is in Kwen district, Ruwenga-Aju in Kabarole district, Tochi in Oyam district, Mubukutu in Kasese district, and Doho 2 in Butaleja district. 106 small-scale irrigation schemes in the districts of Bugiri, Bukedia, Tororo, Iganga, Mbale, Kapuchorwa, Pakwach, and many others. 3. Substantial completion of Katosi water treatment plant, which will produce 160 million liters of water per day. 4. Upgrading of Kapeka water supply system to 5 million liters per day, double the current capacity, and double the current capacity. 5. Rehabilitation and expansion of the Sembabule water supply project. This plant is now able to produce 30 million liters per day. Madam Speaker, the following water projects which are ongoing will continue to be implemented. 1. Construction of 80-kilometer water supply infrastructure from River Nile to serve 484,000 people in Acholi and Lango sub-region. 2. Constructing water infrastructure from River Kagera to serve an additional 75,000 people in Isingiro, Mbarara, and Masaka sub-regions. The Wakiso Wastewater and Sanitation Project, that's number 3. Number 4, the rehabilitation and expansion of Mbale Water Supply Scheme. Number 5, construction of wastewater treatment plant targeting Kirudu Hospital. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 1.027 trillion towards the water and environmental sub-program. Now I turn to education. Madam Speaker, education is a key opportunity equalizer for human beings. During the COVID-19 induced lockdown period, many teachers abandoned the profession and classrooms got dilapidated in several institutions. But now efforts have started to revamp the education sector. Priority will be put on improving the quality of education to enhance learning outcomes. The following will be undertaken. 1. Staffing gaps will be filled in primary and secondary schools. 2. Training of teachers and instructors on the new abridged curriculum will continue, and the lower secondary curriculum will be rolled out. 3. Continuous assessment will be fully rolled out. 4. Inspections across all learning institutions will be strengthened using teacher education and learning assessment system. 5. Operationalization of the Moroto Constituent College of Agriculture, Mountains of the Moon, Busoga University will take effect. Consultation to operationalize Bunyoro University will commence next financial year 23-24. 6. Construction and equipping of 2 unit laboratories in 21 secondary schools currently without any, in line with the science, technology, engineering, and maths policy. And 7. The construction, upgrading, and equipping of vocational education centers of excellence in Bushenyi, Lira, Ergon Technical Institution will be completed. Madam Speaker, I have allocated 4.14 trillion towards the education and skilling sub-program. Science and innovation. Madam Speaker, we are developing 3 prospective COVID-19 vaccines which are undergoing in animal trials. Human trials will commence next financial year. In addition, clinical trials for COVID-19 treatment for viral respiratory diseases are also ongoing. Next financial year, research into medicine development will be expanded to cancer, diabetes, sickle cell anemia, and malaria. Madam Speaker, in September this year, Uganda will launch into the lower Earth orbit its first ever satellite from the International Space Station in collaboration with the USA National Aeronautic and Space Administration, NASA. A ground station at Impoma, Mukono, will receive data from the satellite. The data from this satellite will be used for meteorological, environmental monitoring, urban planning, mineral exploration, and disaster management, among others. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 274.4 billion towards advancing innovation and technological development in this country. Enhancing transport and the power infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the following achievements have been recorded in transport infrastructure development. 1. Construction and upgrading of 20 national roads covering a total distance of 1,437 kilometers has been done. 2. The rehabilitation has commenced on 160 kilometers of Tororo-Gulu meter gauge railway and 265 kilometers of Tororo-Namamve railway line section. The procurement of locomotives is ongoing. 3. Continuation with the compensation and acquisition of right-of-way for the Kampala-Malaba standard gauge railway will continue. 4. The rehabilitation of the Entebbe International Airport stands at 75% completion, and the Kabale International Airport is at 72%. 5. Maintenance of 5,200 kilometers of paved and 15,350 kilometers of unpaved national and city roads and 21,631 kilometers of unpaved local government and community roads has been undertaken. Madam Speaker, next financial, the following interventions in transport infrastructure will be implemented. 1. Construction of 400 kilometers equivalent of roads to bitumen standards, rehabilitation, construction of 200 kilometers equivalent, and construction of 30 bridges on the national roads network. 2. Rehabilitation of 922 kilometers of district roads and 126 kilometers of local government roads. 3. We shall continue with the development of the Bukasa Inland Port. 4. We shall commence Uganda Airlines flights to London and China. Madam Speaker, I have allocated shillings 4.3 trillion next financial year for the transport infrastructure development and maintenance. Power infrastructure. Madam Speaker, national electricity access today stands at 57% shamefully, of which 19% is on the main national grid and 38% is off-grid, including solar power. Uganda's total electricity generation capacity has increased from 1,269 megawatts in financial year 2019-20 to 1,347 megawatts in financial year 21-22 on account of the completion of 42 megawatt actual one, the 21 megawatt Nyamagasani, and the 15.5 megawatt Sugar Corporation of Uganda plants. The transmission network increased from 3,100 kilometers in financial 2021 to 3,431 kilometers at the end of the third quarter financial year 21-22 as a result of commissioning of the Karuma-Kawanda 400 kV and the Karuma-Ruyo 132 kV transmission lines. The Ruzira substation was completed and will be commissioned after completion of the 15-kilometer 132 kV transmission line. Madam Speaker, in the next financial year, the following interventions in the power infrastructure will continue to be implemented. 1. Commence the unit-by-unit commissioning of the 600 megawatt Karuma hydro plant in September 2022, with the plant being fully available in June 2023. 2. Complete the Opuyo Moroto, Lira Guru Nebi Arua, Lira Guru Agago, and the Mutundwe and Tebe 132 kVA transmission lines. 3. Commence feasibility and design studies for the 400 kV Uganda South Sudan transmission line between Oruyo, Nimule, Juba, the 400 kV Uganda Democratic Republic of Congo interconnection, and the 400 kV Uganda Tanzania transmission line. Madam Speaker, I have provided 1.573 trillion to ensure the above are undertaken. Information communication technology infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the geographical coverage of broadband services stands at 66%, allowing digital access for 74% of the population. Next financial year, the government will support the fourth industrial revolution technologies. These include artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and the use of robotics. We shall also extend broadband ICT infrastructure to enable connectivity to facilitate public service delivery. Madam Speaker, I have allocated 124.2 billion towards digitization. Enhancing public sector effectiveness and efficiency. Madam Speaker, public sector effectiveness and efficiency will be improved through the following measures. 1. Continued rationalization of government and public expenditure. 2. Automation of government businesses and service delivery. This includes e-procurement, the Parish Development Model Information System, government asset management, education, information management, electronic document management, integrated health management information system, e-payment gateway, and the e-post digital platform. We shall also embark on decongesting the Citizenship and Immigration Office in Kampala by establishing centers in the Kampala Capital City divisions, commencing with the Nakawa division. 4. The salaries of medical workers, scientists, and science teachers have been enhanced. Very big. In addition, I think I'll repeat this one. The salaries of medical workers, scientists, and science teachers have been enhanced. To a figure which is about 900 billion. In addition to incentivizing scientists, this will also help to improve functionality of education and health facilities by addressing absenteeism and low morale to personnel. Let me repeat this. In addition to incentivizing scientists, this will also help to improve functionality of education and health facilities by addressing absenteeism and low morale of personnel. Madam Speaker, to enhance the decentralization policy, a total of shillings 5.1 trillion has been provided as directive financing to local governments. Fiscal framework and the financing strategy for financial year 22-23. Madam Speaker, the financial year 22-23 budget priorities I have just elaborated will be financed from the following sources. 1. Enhanced domestic revenue mobilization. 2. External financing in the form of loans and grants from our development partners and private creditors. 3. Public-private partnerships that mobilize the private sector financing for public projects. The resource envelope for financial year 22-23, Madam Speaker and colleagues, the resource envelope for financial year 22-23 amounts to shillings 130.7 billion or 48.13 trillion, and is comprised of both domestic and external resources as detailed below. Domestic revenue amounts to 30,797.3 billion, of which 23,754.9 billion will be tax revenue, and 1,795.9 billion will be non-tax revenue. Domestic borrowing amounts to 5,000.4 5,007.9 billion. Budget support accounts for shillings 2,609.2 billion. External financing for projects amounting to shillings 6,716 billion, of which shillings 4,625.7 billion is from loans, and shillings 2,990.5 billion is from grants. Appropriation in aid collected by local governments amount to shillings 238.5 billion, and domestic debt refinancing will amount to shillings 8,008 billion. Madam Speaker, total expenditure will be shillings 48,130.7 billion, or put it 48.13 trillion. Excluding domestic debt refinancing and appropriation aid, it amounts to 39,884.2 billion, of which wages and salaries is 6,366.9 billion. Interest payments is shillings 4,691.9 billion. Non-wage current expenditure is shillings 14,254.4 billion, and development expenditure is shillings 14,565.9 billion. Tax measures for the financial year 2022-23. Madam Speaker, no new taxes will be introduced in financial year 22-23. I heard people disputing this, and I'm repeating it. I think this is the 5th time. Let me read it again. No new taxes will be introduced in the financial year 22-23. We will achieve revenue targets by improving the efficiency in tax collection and enhancing compliance to the tax laws. The capacity of the Uganda Revenue Authority will be enhanced by recruiting and training staff, deploying appropriate equipment and ICT to enforce tax laws. Madam Speaker, I wish to report that Parliament has made amendments to the various tax laws intended to simplify the laws, clarify previously ambiguous provisions, and close loopholes that may lead to revenue leakage, but not increasing taxes. Madam Speaker, the amendments that have been made are the Income Tax Act, Value Added Tax, the Stamp Duty Act, and the Tax Procedures Act. I will now highlight the major amendments. Income tax. Madam Speaker, the corporate income tax exemption for Jagali hydropower project has been extended for 1 year up to 30th June 2023 in order not to increase electricity tariffs for power that the project will generate. Madam Speaker, the Income Tax Act has been amended to streamline the rental income tax regime for individuals and non-individuals as follows. 1. Introduce a zero rental income tax rate for individuals that earn annual rental income not exceeding 2,820,000 shillings and a rate of 20% of rental income exceeding that amount. 2. For rental business, introduce a 30% rental income tax rate on rental income with expenses capped to 50% for each year of income. In addition, any excess expenses shall not be carried forward to a subsequent year of income. Value-added tax. Madam Speaker, under the Value-Added Tax Act, the following amendments have been made. Exempted the supply of oxygen cylinders or oxygen for medical use to reduce the cost of the supply of oxygen for medical use. 2. exempted the supply of assistive devices for persons with disabilities to reduce the cost of equipment used by persons with disabilities. 3. Exempt the supply of airport user services charged by the Civil Aviation Authority to reduce the cost of transiting through Entebbe Airport. 4. To allow for cash basis accounting for suppliers who supply goods and services to the government to facilitate them to hedge against the risk of interest and penalties arising from delayed payments by government. 5. Repealed the exemption on VAT on imported services used in the provision of an exempt supply to encourage businesses to use local suppliers of services such as information and communication technological services. Tax Procedures Code. Madam Speaker, the amendment under Tax Procedure Code Act include the following. Introduced penalties for failure to provide information for purposes of automatic exchange of information to improve compliance. 2. Introduce penalties for failure to adhere to the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution and digital tax stamps. This is intended to combat tax evasion and smuggling and other vices. Stamp duty. Madam Speaker, under the stamp duty, the following amendments have been made. Provide for nil stamp duty on the following instruments. A. Agreements relating to the deposit of title deeds or personal property or goods to another as a pledge or as a security for a sum of money borrowed. B. Agriculture insurance policy to encourage the uptake of agriculture insurance services. C. Security bond or mortgage deed executed by way of security for the due execution of an office or to account for money or other property received by virtue of security bond or mortgage deed executed by surety for to secure a loan or a credit facility. Clarification of the rate of shillings 15,000 applicable on transmission of property from the administrator to an estate of the beneficiary. Excise duty. Madam Speaker, under the Excise Duty Act, the government has undertaken the following amendments. 1. Clarification of the definitions of various products that attract excise duty, such as spirits and juices, to enhance taxpayer compliance. 2. Reduce excise duty applicable on opaque beer and fermented beverages made from locally sourced raw materials to 20% or 150 shillings per litre, whichever is higher. This is intended to promote value addition and the use of locally sourced raw materials. The mid-term financing strategy. Madam Speaker, the financing of the budget will be generated from implementation of the following revenue and public debt measures. Domestic revenue mobilization. Madam Speaker, the objective of government in financial 22-23 is to increase revenue by 0.8% of GDP. The major assumptions that underpin this goal are expected increase in taxable income activities, gains from revenue enhancement measures, and 3, increased employment and aggregate demand for goods and services arising from the full reopening of the economy. Public investment financing strategy. Madam Speaker, the government will implement the public investment financing strategy starting next financial year to achieve the following objectives. 1. Improve alignment of sustainable financing options to government programs and projects. 2. Minimize the cost and risk exposure of financing modalities. 3. Ensure prudent loans acquisition to avoid debt accumulation in a short period and a timely disbursement of loan funds. 4. Long-term fiscal sustainability. 5. Increase financing from traditional and other innovative resources to meet the development financial requirements. And 6. Provide a framework for partnership with the private sector in the implementation and financing of public investment programs. Public debt management. Madam Speaker, as at the end of December 2021, Uganda's total public debt stock stood at shillings 73.5 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 20.7 billion, of which external debt amounted to shillings 45.7 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 20.5 billion, and domestic debt amounted to shillings 27.77 trillion, equivalent to US dollars 7.84 billion. This represents a nominal debt to GDP ratio of 49.7%. The rise in debt stock was mainly on account of need to support the economy and preserve the welfare of households as a result of COVID-19 and other external and domestic shocks. Debt was also used to finance the shortfalls in domestic revenue. Madam Speaker, the government is implementing the following measures to ensure long-term public debt sustainability. 1. Reduce the level of domestic borrowing over the medium term to an average of 2.2% of GDP per year. This ratio will be reduced further to a policy target of 1.0% of GDP over the long term. 2. Implement the public investment financing strategy. This strategy will ensure alignment of suitable financing modalities with the nature of government programs and projects. 3. Implement the financial year 22-23 borrowing strategy, which is consistent with our medium-term debt management strategy to avoid risks associated with unsustainable debt. 4. Borrow largely on favorable terms and for projects that enhance productivity of the economy. 5. Sequencing new projects in a manner that makes the government service its debt obligations without the risk of default. This means the government will only mobilize debt financing for ready projects and will cancel projects with poor performance. I will repeat this. This means the government will only mobilize debt financing for ready projects and will cancel projects with poor performance. 6. Increase domestic revenue by implementing the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. Now I'm concluding. Conclusion. Madam Speaker and colleagues, the budget for the next financial year presents a set of strategic choices and the government's commitment to stimulate economic recovery, enhance productivity and competitiveness of enterprises, and most importantly, wealth creation and jobs for the ordinary Ugandans. Substantial resources have been earmarked for the implementation of the parish development model. This model will be a vehicle of socio-economic transformation at the parish level and the monetization of Uganda's economy. Successful implementation of the parish development model ushers in a mass socio-economic transformation movement in our society with better sustained outcomes. I therefore urge all leaders and Ugandans to ensure that these resources are effectively used to bring about the desired change. I repeat this. I therefore urge all the leaders at whatever level and whatever sector and Ugandans to ensure that these resources are effectively used to bring about the desired change. It will really be a very big shame to hear that this money we are sending down for the parish development model, some money has gone to cham. Very shameful. Please, this is our country. We should stand firm. There's nobody who is going to come to help you when we cannot help ourselves. When we get resources, let those resources go for the purpose for which they have been given. To the Ugandan scientists and health workers, government has fulfilled its commitment to enhancing your pay. You have heard. Uganda expects better service in return. Kankademu. Tit for tat. Tit for tat. Mpankwe. You give me, I give you. I have enhanced the sciences salaries by a figure which I mentioned. I expect to get a better return. To the micro, small and medium enterprises, I implore you to take advantage of the economic recovery programs and the opportunities that come with petroleum and other public infrastructure investment to re-strategize, recover your business. Sorry, let me repeat. Recovery programs and the opportunities that come with petroleum and other public infrastructure investments to re-strategize, recover your businesses, expand, and formalize. This way, you will be able to benefit more from the now bigger East African community market and create decent and better paying jobs for our children. For our who? For the women entrepreneurs, the grant from the World Bank will support the growth of your enterprises, create better paying jobs and enable you to exploit the opportunities in the economy to enhance your incomes. Abakyala. Nzendese. For me to be happy and to believe that you have responded, you must be productive. You must be productive, more wealth, and more bigger business, both internally and externally, and you give me taxes so that I don't have to go to borrow and be abused as an old man, that what have you come here, go back to Uganda. This has happened to me in one case. Madam Speaker, I dedicate this budget to delivering the Ugandan household still in the subsistence to the money economy. I thank all of you for listening to me, and may good Lord keep you in good health so that we see this Uganda becoming a much better place for everybody to live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Finance.
Item number 6, remarks by His Excellency the President.
Her Excellency the Vice President, the Right Honorable Speaker, His Lordship the Chief Justice, all the other leaders, and honorable members of Parliament. You have heard the speech by the Minister. It is clear enough. I just want to introduce two words. One is waka, and those who speak our actual language know that waka, wake, means boasting. You boast. The Banyankole call it okwesimirana. When you are on a beer party among the Banyankole, you can say, I have got more cows than all of you. You boast. And with the Banyankole, they just laugh. They don't take offense. because they also want to be rich like you. But I'm told that among the Achoris, they may spare you. That if you work, they may spare you. But since I'm a bit far from Ugura, I can work here. And the other one is Poko Marom. Poko Marom. That is okugabula bulungi, to distribute food well or fairly. In Acholi, we call it Poko Marom. In 2000 by 2005 and 6, the country was getting into a problem. Our people in finance, without consultation, had agreed with the donors that all the government revenue should go for expenditure of running the country. Salaries and so on. And that what they call recurrent expenditure. And that the development budget will only be supported by the donors. I didn't know this. They didn't consult me, but that's what they had agreed. And you remember by 2005, we had a big shortage of electricity. That's when load shedding started. After the elections, 2006, I called a conference of the cabinet, but also the NRM caucus, and I said, you people, I cannot accept this. We must budget for both the recurrent and the development budget. And we agreed. That's when we put more money on the roads and more money on electricity, apart from whatever we are putting on education and health and water. Now, I was checking the results of that decision, which was Poko Marom. If you go on the roads, I have the whole list here. Kapchora Swam, there was government funding there, together with some other funds. Bulima Kaboya, government funding there with others. Nyakaita Kazo, government funding with others. Bumbo Virohaha, government funding. Chigumba Bulima, government funding. Rukunjiri Chihi, government funding with others. Masaka Bukakata, government funding with others. Hoima Butiaba Wanseko, government spending with some other groups. Buhimbanarwe, Bolamayibo, and so on, government spending with others. Masindi Park, Paraburisa, government funding with others. Hoha, Nyairongo, Charusesa, Butore, Kabale, Kizaramfumbi, government funding with others. Atiak, Laropi, government funding with others. Kampala Northern Bypass, government funding with others. Kampala Gayaza Zirobwe, government funding alone, nobody else. Just government money. Matugasemuto, government funding alone. Busega Mtiana, government funding, government of Uganda funding alone. Busega Mtiana too, government funding, government of Uganda alone. Fort Portal Bundubujo, government of Uganda alone. Ishaka Axim, government of Uganda alone. Sorot Katakwi, government of Uganda alone. Lushere, that's near my home, government of Uganda alone. Kashenyi Mitoma, Kitabi, government of Uganda alone. Kitara Gerenge, government of Uganda alone. Mbarra Municipality Roads, government of Uganda alone. Mpigi Town Roads, government of Uganda alone. Chira Matuga, government of Uganda alone. This one is ongoing. Moroto Roktenyara, government of Uganda alone. Entebbe Hospital, Entebbe Pediatric Hospital, government of Uganda alone. Chirama Tuga, government of Uganda alone. Najanamkumbi Busawala, government of Uganda alone. And so on. The list is so long. I will send this list to the honorable MPs so that you can see. This was now new construction, constructing new roads or constructing old ones. But there is rehabilitation. Mitiana Mbende, government of Uganda alone. Katungur Kasese, government of Uganda alone. Soroti Dokoro, Lira, Kamdin, World Bank and government of Uganda. Tororombare Soroti, World Bank, government of Uganda. Masaka Town, government of Uganda alone. Rehabilitation of Budo Roads, government of Uganda alone. Namu Sisironko Muyembe, government of Uganda alone. And so on. I will send you this document. Rehabilitation of Nakalama, Tirinyi Mbare, government of Uganda alone. Fort Portal Hima, government of Uganda alone. Mukono Karagi Kayunga Bukoloto Njeru, government of Uganda alone. Nansa Nabusunju, government of Uganda alone. Ishaka Katunguru, government of Uganda alone. Hima Katunguru, government of Uganda alone. Chenjojo Fort Portal, government of Uganda alone. Sungira Hiru, something, government of Uganda alone. Bundubujo Nyahuka, government of Uganda alone. Mvara Ediofe, this is in Arua, government of Uganda alone. Iganga Kariro, government of Uganda alone. Pakwachi Nebi, government of Uganda alone. Kamdin Gulu, government of Uganda alone. Chiriandongo Karuma Kamdin, Government of Uganda loan. Jinja Kamuri, Government of Uganda loan. Mbare Soroti, Government of Uganda loan. Tororo Mbare, Government of Uganda loan. Kawempe Kafu, Chiriandongo, Government of Uganda loan, and so on. This is now the roads coming out of that decision of 2006, where we said we must have our own money to deal with the development budget. On the side of electricity, the same. Hoi Machinyara, there are many other projects, geothermal resources, Energy Investment Fund. There are so many other programs here of the petroleum. So many projects, nuclear energy, and so on. But I just want the lines which people can easily see. Mbala Nkenda, Tororia, Government of Uganda with some other people. Some project here, abbreviation. Industrial parks, Government of Uganda with some other people. Opuyo, Moroto, Government of Uganda with some other people. Kampala Entebbe, Government of Uganda with some other people. Karuma, because this Karuma and Isimba we contributed, it was the Government of Uganda and China. Muzizi, Government of Uganda with some other people. Nyagak, Government of Uganda with some other people. So many of them. Oh, I will send you the whole list. So, the point I'm making here is that the Poko, Marom, the Okugabro Bulungi, this money has made so much impact. And on the area of science and technology, we have built the Chira motors. We are working on putting a satellite in space with our own money. The pathogen economy, the vaccines, which I hear you attacking Musenera about. I will come back and defend Musenera and people will hide somewhere. Because God fortunately gave me my voice. I can talk, you can talk, but I can also talk. The human vaccines, the anti-tick vaccine, the foot and mouth and swine fever vaccine, digital, electronics and automation, all these are funded by the government of Uganda, either wholly or partially. So this shows you, that's why I thought I should do. Wake, is it Wake? I thought I should come here and really boast. Say, you see, didn't I tell you? And because of these measures, you had in the speech of the minister saying that the GDP per capita is now 1,046. This is what I had told you here the other day. But he did not come out to clearly say that we have now entered the entrance of the middle income. I don't know what he feared. I don't know whether he feared that we may enter in the entrance and then go back. I don't know what he feared. Go back out of the entrance. But I don't see how we shall go back from the entrance, because the entry point is 1,000. Some say 36. Some say 39. These people can tell you the exact figure. So these steps are a result of the deliberate, as the minister said in his speech, are a result of deliberate steps. Some of the deliberate steps we take, but others we don't take them and waste a lot of time. If I had not insisted in 2006 to put this man on the roads, I don't know where Uganda would be, and electricity. I remember, for instance, the line from Konakilak to Patongo to Karongo and maybe Abim. The Swedish had promised us to do it. But last minute they said, no, we can't do it because there is war, there is what? That's when we said, no, we shall use our own money and do it. And we did not only take the line to Patongo and Kalongo and Abim, but we went even further to the Ramos and so on. So therefore, I really want to advise the political leaders to know that Poko Marom has positive consequences. Now, in my up-country tour, I've discovered one problem which I've been talking about, but not insisting, because that's my way of working. I don't want to force people to do what I think. I would rather persuade them. Just the other day we were in Moroto, and we were looking at the UBOS figures. The primary 7 completion rate in the whole of Uganda apparently is 38%. The children who go into the primary school and finish P7 are only 38 out of 100, which means that 62 go back to the village. They don't finish P7. And in the case of Karamoja, we found it was only 6 children out of 100 who finished primary 7. And you remember during the elections, I was talking about it. Because when we introduced UPE in 1997, the idea was everybody to go to school, universal education. Universal primary school education. And the reason why these children drop out is because of the school charges. I've been telling you about this so many times, begging, talking, as if I want people to come and work on my farm or do me a favor. So now, this is a big problem for the country. To find that children, and you can see it in the elections, I was talking about it. In the primary school, the enrollment is 10 million something, 10 point something, almost 11. But in the secondary schools, only 2 million. Where have the other 8 gone? Of course, in the 10 million, it did not come out that many of them drop out. Of course, many of them drop out. They don't go to the secondary school. So therefore, I call on the political class, especially the NRM people, to say no. We must budget for free and even compulsory primary school education. We budget for it and we stop these teachers greedy for money, collecting money from these children in government schools. This is what I wanted from the beginning, but I can't do it alone. Uganda doesn't belong to me. From 1997, this was my wish. When we introduced UPE, the idea was everybody should finish secondary education. So we should not be talking of 2 million children in the secondary school, we should be talking of 10 million in the secondary school, because secondary school years are S1 to S6, 6 years, they're almost the same as P1 to P7. So why should you have 10 million, almost 11 million in primary and only 2 million in secondary? Where have the others gone? So we may not do it this year because this budget is now finished, but in the next financial, 1 or 2 financial years, we should really work and insist on free and compulsory primary, maybe even with secondary education, and stop all these pharaohs who are looking for money through education. Get out, go in the primary school, private schools and look for money there, not in the government ones. Disgusting. Sending children out of school because we are looking for money, for allowances, for what? It's really disgusting. Now, the other big issue, because people talk of problems, but me, I really, many of them, I'm used to problems. And when I see what you call problems, I say, Bambi, these ones don't know what problems look like. I feel very sorry. But for me, the real problem for Uganda and Africa is lack of food. If there is no food, no mhogo. When I say food, I mean mhogo. I mean bananas. I mean akalo. If the akalo was not there, I don't know what I will do. I mean maize. Maize is important for kaunga, for animal feeds, for fish meals. Beans, of course, milk, amate munangi, beef. These are the ones that would do. I would not sleep if we had none or very little of these. Of course, sugar and other things. If spaghetti doesn't come, those who eat spaghetti, I don't know how they do it. You try to put it in their mouth, it is refusing coming. Why don't you do a no-go? You know a no-go? A noga. When Mnyankore gets a piece of karo and does like this and puts a hole. What do they call it in Luo? This one, Omona is a former Luo, he doesn't know anything. Somebody help me, please. I'm behaving unparliamentary. Very sorry, very sorry. In Parliament, they don't really say. I will find out and tell you next time. So, as long as Uganda is producing enough food, there is no problem we cannot solve. But the danger to the food is number one, some laziness. This 39% of the homes whom want to, under parish model, to say, please join the money economy and produce for the stomach and for the pocket. But the other danger can be lack of rain or unreliable rain. So that's why in our budgeting, there is now something about irrigation. But in the future budgets, I would like us to do more for the irrigation so that we stabilize agriculture. There is no possibility of shortage of food, even if the rain has got some erraticness. But irrigation means water. So we go to the environment. So please, all of us must tell these people, especially the ones, the old problem of the wetlands, which was created by the British, was in Busoga and in Bukedi and in Kigezi, where they misled our people to go in the wetlands, thinking that that is a good thing to do. These ones, I have a program to get them out by compensating them because they were misled. They didn't do it themselves, they were misled by the government. But in the other areas, the people who are going to the wetlands are going there by themselves and against our appeals. And I demand that all these people get out of the wetlands unconditionally. We don't have to negotiate because they knew it was not right, they insist. Even here in Kampala, I see some of them encouraging a little bit in Rubiji swamp and these other swamps. So therefore, once we bring back our water, because 20% of Uganda is under fresh water, we are so lucky, then we shall be able to irrigate easily and have a secure agriculture, and that can give us problems to solve other problems. If there is a shortage of cooking oil from Malaysia, we can easily replace it. In fact, people have come up. Very soon we shall be exporting that cooking oil instead of importing from Malaysia. So many people are involved with sunflower, with simsim, with palm oil. Very soon you will see that Uganda will be a big exporter. The only problem we may not easily solve is the problem of wheat, because we don't have in Kapchora they try to grow wheat, but I don't think the land is enough. I will talk with the people of agriculture whether wheat needs cold climate or what. That I have never really bothered with wheat myself. I've never studied it. Then on petroleum, in the next few years we shall have our own petroleum, as you know. But of course, even when we have our own petroleum, the price, we cannot undersell our petroleum. It will have to be at par with the world price minus transport. So yes, it somehow deals with it, but not entirely. With fuel, we may have to. I think the real answer to expensive petroleum is rail transport. If we repair our railway to Pakwach, like the minister is saying, and we transport many of the things on the railway, then the demand for fuel, for petrol will go down, and diesel, at least for cargo. And later on with Kasese, that is the real answer to the problem of high petroleum prices. So I congratulate the minister, but I'm glad you have not killed me when I have wake. I have boasted a bit about the achievements of the NRM. Okwesi Mirana, say, didn't I tell you? Don't you see how much better off we are? Apoyo Rubanga.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for laying down the various projects and the programs that you intend to implement during the financial year 2022-2023. I sincerely want to thank my very able and active members of Parliament for ensuring that this day comes to reality. Thank you so much for working tirelessly for ensuring that the day comes to reality. You've had, honorable members, as executive embarks on implementation of the budget from 1st July 2022, it is our noble duty to do our oversight role so as to ensure that the funds that have been allocated are being used for intended use and there is value for money. Mr. President, as has been the case before, thank you for having a clear vision of where the country is moving and championing this vision with commitment and dedication. And we are also happy that you've talked about free education, and members of Parliament, our first priority in 2023-2024 should be budgeting for free education. I once again want to thank you, Your Excellency, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for fulfilling your obligation of tabling the budget for the financial year 2022-2023. The rest is now left to the technical team. Whereas it has always been our practice to meet and interact after such an important occasion like today, the current circumstances do not permit us to do so because COVID is still with us. COVID is still with us. We can interact when we are having the workshop. You'll have everything at your exposure.
In a special way, honorable members, when the speaker is speaking, keep quiet. Honorable members, in a special way, I want to thank Mama Janet for accompanying the Excellency to come and do this. Yes, thank you so much. You make us the women of Uganda proud. The house is adjourned to 5th July, grade 2 at 2 p.m.
Parliament.